I'm Jason Fettig, Director of Bands at the University of Michigan and conductor of the University of Michigan Symphony Band. Today we're here to talk about conducting, the elusive art of what we do, how we do it, why we do it when we lead a band on the podium. We're going to watch some clips from a recent performance by the Symphony Band of a piece by Percy Grainger called In a Nutshell Suite. And as the clips play, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on in my head as I'm leading the Symphony Band through the performance. The first movement is called Arrival Platform Humlet, and it's a very dramatic tune. It's supposed to be Grainger thinking about a tune he might hum as he's waiting for the train. The band plays almost all in unison, the same notes, but they all play really dramatically different gestures as they go through this piece. Before we start the clip, I want you to pay attention to the way I set the table as a conductor. Before I even start doing anything, what's the look on my face? What's the energy as I bring my hands up before I give the very first downbeat? That's a super important part of conducting. So I'm clearly keeping time. A lot of people think that conducting is mostly keeping time to keep the band together, and that's an important part of it. But there's a lot of other things that go into it as well. What is the emotion that we're trying to communicate here? So this is soft, so I'm conducting rather small, but I'm bouncing around, trying to show them the nature of how the energy of these notes go. Soft again. Now bigger, louder. Did you see that, what I did a little bit? As I was conducting through the pattern, I kind of shook a little bit. I was trying to get some more energy out of the notes and out of the tone the band was producing. This is something that I do, not all conductors do it, but it helps for me to communicate to the band. I need more from them. I need something that's just a little bit more juiced up than what they did before. And that's the biggest moment yet. Sometimes I'll change the shape of what I'm doing. I'll do circles or lines or create some sort of shape in front of me to try to communicate a nature of sound that I'm looking for or a volume. Swirling around here. So we've heard this music before, so I don't need to do too much to show them what they need to do. Now this is the softest part of the entire piece. Very small. Super small here. Since they don't need me to keep time for them, all they need me to do is show them that we're playing very, very gently here. Now we're expanding. Okay, in Hill Auditorium, which is where we perform all of our concerts, the stage is very wide, and so there are instruments on both sides of me. Luckily, I have two arms, so I can cue instruments over here with this hand, cue instruments over here with this hand. So when you see me turning this way to specifically conduct in a certain direction, I'm giving a cue and attention to a specific section. In this case, it's the French horns when they have this amazing spot that we're about to play right here. Huge smack in the music. So that was the end of the first clip. We're going to move on now to another movement. This movement, entitled Pastoral, is completely different than the first movement. It takes a beautiful, plaintive tune in the beginning and it swirls it around into all kinds of amazing and experimental music. You'll see as we watch this clip that it starts with just a solo oboe alone, showing us the tune, and then instruments enter one by one. So since there's only one instrument playing, I don't need to conduct them. You can see that I'm just letting the oboe player play the piece, but I'm still involved. I'm trying to show the emotion with my head and with my hands, and then I start conducting when the other instruments come in. You could tell already that the mood and emotion of this piece is completely different than the first movement, where the first movement was aggressive and dramatic. The beginning of this is soft and beautiful and flowing. So in my body, I'm trying to show that flowing shape, almost like conducting water, and imagining the way that water would move on the earth, and how can I show that to the musicians so they can play with that shape. One of the most important things in conducting is the flexibility in the wrist. We have this weird thing called a baton, and what the baton is simply an amplification for our hand. So whatever we would do with our hand to show that flow and that line, the baton makes it bigger at the end. So when we use our wrist to show line and show flow, you can see how that translates to the end of the baton and lets all of the musicians all across the stage see what we intended to show them. Now we get into another part of this third movement, the Pastoral, which is completely different than the soft, plaintive opening. Grainger starts to put all of these different melodies on top of one another, and it gets very aggressive and emotional. And so, of course, my conducting is going to change from the soft, gentle beginning to something that's completely different. I also want you to pay attention to my face when we go through these clips. The face is such an important part of conducting, and it's something we teach to conductors here at the University of Michigan, is have the emotion of your face be very demonstrative, whether it's neutral or happy or sad or angry or pained. There are so many different things you can do to have your face and your facial expressions complement what you choose to do with your body. Some more cues with my left hand to people on the right side of the stage. Cues to the right side. Now you can see I'm bouncing, my whole body's involved. I'm really trying to find the weight of this moment and show the musicians where that arrival is. And there is an emotion on my face that embodies the sound that I'm trying to ask them to play with. Things are big here. My nose is itchy. And then all of a sudden, things start to relax, and you'll see me shrink the gesture, smaller and smaller, lower and lower. Gentler, it's smoothing out a little bit, so there's less kind of activity in my baton. Big crescendo there. Another one. And then relaxing. Using my left hand to try to show that relaxing, smooth emotion we're trying to capture. Another cue. And another cue. So here's the very end of the Pastoral, which ends similar to the beginning. It gets softer, more gentle. And what I'm thinking about here as I'm leading the musicians through this end is to try to be as simple as possible, as quiet as possible in my body. So I'm showing them the time, but I'm showing them also the flow of this phrase, giving cues wherever I need to. Here we have a piano playing a cadenza, so I'm not conducting her through her part, but then I'm getting everyone else ready to meet her at the end. So you can see that even when you're small, when you're conducting, you can show louder and softer gestures simply by expanding outward or upward gently. The musicians of the symphony band are so sensitive that any little move I make, they will respond to. So you have to be careful that you mean what you do. So now we have 3 musicians playing on the right side of the stage together. My left hand is showing a sustain for those musicians, the right hand showing where the rest of the musicians will come in. And the whole thing ends very, very quietly, almost to the point where the audience can't perceive where the end of the movement is, which is why you see me being very still and trying to cut off in a way that is in the emotion of the moment, rather than finishing a piece and going, like that, which is a legitimate cutoff, but not appropriate for this particular music. So something that's very subtle and very gentle is in the character of the piece. So as we talked about earlier in the video, our main job is actually not to keep time. A good ensemble can keep its own time, and honestly, this is a magic trick anyway. This makes no sound. We're simply suggesting what musicians should do rather than telling them what to do. So if a musician and a band can keep good time, then what is our job? Our job is to musically, physically represent the sounds that are coming out, to provide some inspiration, to provide an embodiment of the energy that the band or the orchestra should play with. We are basically catalysts for the music on the podium. So as we watch this last clip, I want you to think about what I'm trying to do to embody the energy and activate that sound that the musicians are making. This is the final movement of In a Nutshell Suite. It's called the Gumsuckers March. Giving them the tempo there so they're sure. My face, happy, pleasant, joyful. I'm also happy that they're playing so well. There's a little bit of kind of sarcasm in this music, a little bit of kind of a wink of the eye, and so I'm conscious of that too. I'm trying to embody that spirit. It's not just joy, it's joy with a little bit of playfulness. And now a completely different melody. And so you'll notice what I did is that I'm bouncing up and down on a vertical plane to show that energy and that joy. And then as soon as the melody becomes a little bit more sustained, now I can go this way. And you'll see, especially my left hand, helping the trumpets to embody that more lyrical phrase is something that we also take responsibility for. They know how to do it, but we're just confirming for them that yes, indeed, this is smoother. And then when the march comes back to the up and down. Couple of cues there for the horns on the right side. One other thing I want you to notice here, I'm sorry to keep stopping the video, but I often will use my left hand, my non-baton hand, because this is responsible for controlling the baton. The left hand is free. I'll often use the left hand to confirm or encourage different things that non-melodic people are doing. So here's the melody, and if there's decorations or runs that go up and down, you'll see me often using my left hand to show the shape of that music that's happening. Again, just a way to do two things at once, melody and accompaniment or accompaniment and melody, so that everyone feels like they've got a little piece of our gesture helping them to play through the music. So we're back to upright again. There's that moment. Big notes in the brass, so I kind of dig them out like I've got a shovel and I'm digging up sand there. The most important thing when you are conducting a group as good as the University of Michigan Symphony Band is A, to know the music, right? Conductors, we spend a lot of time studying the music, so we've got it internalized. Yes, we have the music in front of us often, but we don't really look at it so much. We know it in our heart, and that way, whatever we do with our body is instinctual, that we've trained enough that we're embodying the music based on our knowledge of the music itself, and that is the thing that helps the musicians to feel confident in what they're doing playing those tunes. So now we've reached the end of the last movement of Percy Grainger's In a Nutshell Suite. This is the culmination of the Gumsuckers March, and as you might imagine, for any good finale, everyone is playing. This is the most kind of bombastic part of this entire 18-minute piece. So I think about this when I'm conducting. How does my conducting evolve from the beginning of a piece to the end? Is it scaled in a way where if this is in fact the grand finale, am I saving some of my biggest, most dramatic gestures for that end so it does feel like we can finish with the appropriate flourish? So we're still into the second theme, which is smooth and gentle, but listen to all of the other stuff happening around. I'm using every part of my body and my capability to embody the music for the musicians. Left hand, right hand, body, bounce, my face, little hip waggle there. Another burst of energy from the left hand. Lots of depth here. And a big cutoff and a smile to show them that we did a fantastic job on this amazing music. Thank you so much for joining us for this little adventure through the art of conducting. We'll see you again.